Narration. Rhetorical modes simply mean the ways in which we can effectively communicate through language. This chapter covers 9 common rhetorical modes. As you read through these modes, keep in mind that the rhetorical mode a writer chooses depends on his or her purpose for writing. Sometimes writers incorporate a variety of modes in any one essay. In covering the 9 modes, this chapter also emphasizes the rhetorical modes as a set of tools that will allow you greater flexibility and effectiveness in communicating with your audience and expressing your ideas. What is narration? Narration means the art of storytelling, and the purpose of narrative writing is to tell stories. Anytime you tell a story to a friend or family member, you engage in narration. Narrative can be either factual or fictional. A factual story is one that is based on actual events as they unfolded in real life. A fictional story is a made-up or imagined story. The writer of a fictional story can create characters and events as he sees fit. The big distinction between factual and fictional narratives is based on a writer's purpose. The writers of factual stories try to recount events as they actually happen, but writers of fictional stories can depart from real people and events because the writer's intent are not to retell a real-life event. Biographies and memoirs are examples of factual stories, whereas novels and short stories are examples of fictional stories. Ultimately, whether the story is fact or fiction, the narrative writing tries to relay a series of events in an emotionally engaged way. You want your audience to be moved by your story, which could mean through laughter, sympathy, fear, anger, and so on. The more clearly you tell your story, the more emotionally engaged your audience will be. Most narrative events are often conveyed in chronological order. That is, the order in which events would unfold from first to last. Stories typically have a beginning, middle, and end, and these events are typically organized by time. Certain transitional words and phrases aid in keeping the reader oriented in the sequencing of the story. So you have after, currently, next, finally, during, now, later, when, whenever, at last, eventually, since, still, while, before, meanwhile, soon, then, first, second, and third. So the following are the major components of a narrative. Plot, the events as they unfold in sequence. Characters, the people who inhabit the story and move it forward. Typically, these are minor and major characters. The minor characters generally play supporting roles to the main character or the protagonist. So the protagonist is the main character. Conflict, the primary problem or obstacle that unfolds in the plot that the protagonist must solve or overcome by the end of the narrative. The way in which the protagonist resolves the conflict of the plot results in the theme of the narrative. Theme, the ultimate message the narrative is trying to express. It can either be explicit or implicit. And so the theme is the ultimate message, that is the moral of the story. In other words, what is the purpose of writing that story? So that becomes the theme of the story. Writing a narrative story. When writing a narrative essay, start asking yourself if you want to write a factual or fictional story. Then free write about topics that are of general interest to you. Once you have a general idea of what you will be writing about, you should sketch out the major events of the story that will compose your plot. Typically, these events will be revealed chronologically and climax at a central conflict that must be resolved by the end of the story. The use of strong details is crucial as you describe the events and characters in your narrative. You want the reader to emotionally engage with the world that you create in writing. As always, it is important to start with a strong introduction to hook your reader into wanting to read more. Try opening the essay with an event that is interesting to introduce the story and get it going. Finally, your conclusion should help resolve the central conflict of the story and impress upon your reader the ultimate theme of the piece. Key takeaways. Narration is the art of storytelling. Narratives can be either factual or fictional. In either case, narratives should emotionally engage the reader. Most narratives are composed of major events sequenced in chronological order. Time transition words and phrases are used to orient the reader in the sequence of a narrative. The four basic components to all narratives are plot, character, conflict, and theme. The use of sensory detail is crucial to emotionally engage the reader. A strong introduction is important to hook the reader, and a strong conclusion should add resolution to the conflict and evoke the narrative's theme. So if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to the Professor H Writing channel, and if you have any questions, don't forget to email me at any time.